So hi everyone, and welcome to workshop number 4, abstract and screening slides. Thank you so much for waking up early this morning and coming to join us for this workshop. This is presented by the SLB Outreach Committee, and we hope you will find this useful for the entering into science fair. So today, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. Let's first start with some introductions. I'm Andrew, and I go to Canyon Crest Academy.
I'm Kavya, and I go to Westview High School.
I'm Spencer, I go to SDJ.
I'm Sarah, I go to Canyon Crest Academy.
Hi, I'm Eleanor, I go to Mount Carmel High School. So the abstract is a summary of what, why, and how your project happens. It's about 250 words. And for science projects, you'll want to include a summary of your problem, the hypothesis, the procedure, the results, and the conclusion. If you're an engineering project, then you'll want to talk about the problem and then the design, and then how that led into testing, redesign, and then your final design, and whether or not this led to success. So it's very important because it's read by the judges, and it's a critical part of the notebook and slides. So how to write a strong abstract. It is written last, but it will be the first section of your report. So think about it as a first impression, because the judges will see the abstract first. You have to limit it to 250 words or fewer, and it summarizes your project in 4 brief paragraphs. Your hypothesis and statement of purpose, an outline of your procedure, a summary of your results, and your conclusion, and it's written in the past tense. So one template that you can use is something that we have right here. So paragraph 1 would be the purpose of the investigation, or why you're doing the experiment. You'll want to introduce the problem and your hypothesis in this section. In paragraph 2, you will summarize the procedure. It includes general methods, and it's very washed down. In paragraph 3, you'll have the results, or what you found, and most of them will be directed towards your hypothesis. You can include other interesting results that you might think are the most important here. And in the conclusion, or in paragraph 4, it's just a short summary with 1 or 2 sentences. It might include some further recommendations and ways to expand your experiment past what you've done.
And if you're doing an engineering project, then here is the abstract template. So paragraph 1 summarizes the problem that your device is trying to solve. In the second paragraph, you want to describe your first prototype and the reasoning behind your design and why you thought your initial prototype would work. In paragraph 3, talk about how you tested the effectiveness of your designs and briefly go over changes you made to further prototypes. And in paragraph 4, conclude in 1 to 2 sentences on your final prototype and how well it addresses your initial problem. And you can also briefly mention your further recommendations for additional prototypes, and make sure to write if it was successful or not. And here are some tips to writing a strong abstract. So revision is key. You're probably not going to get it on the first try, so you need to keep on revising. So some things to look out for are to leave out unnecessary details and discussions, write in short but complete sentences, avoid extra jargon and any slang, and check for correct spelling, grammar, and punctuation. And you can also ask for help from an English teacher or librarian. Writing an abstract is an exercise in using language effectively to convey scientific ideas and procedures. So it doesn't hurt to have an extra pair of eyes look over your abstract. And now that we've talked about our abstract and the notebook, we're going to talk about digital project screening.
Digital project screening is a lot like safety pre-screening, but with more details. Essentially, we want to make sure that the project you're going to submit is within all GSDSEF rules and is appropriate for the fair. It's the last check for the forms you need and the procedures you performed. Please note that each grade level has a different deadline for screening. To submit, you should look on the GSDSEF website for a Microsoft PowerPoint template that you can copy and paste the appropriate information in. Note that there are separate junior and senior templates, and then the digital project is essentially a condensed version of the entire notebook. Also note that project screening is not the same as judging. Judging is when you present your findings live to judges, whereas project screening is just making sure that you have followed all safety guidelines and that your project will be competitive at the fair. Please go to teachers, then screening information on our website to download the digital project templates. Make sure your slides are clean and an easy to read summary of your work. Use a maximum of 2 fonts and 2 font colors, as well as check for spelling, grammar, and punctuation. You will submit your digital project similarly to how you submitted your pre-screening form through the GSDSEF website, and make sure the status is submit so the screeners can see your work.
So here's a brief template of what your digital project screening slide should look like. So you'll start with the title slide, which has your name, grade, school, email, and teacher category. So that's important. And then your abstract, background, statement of purpose and hypothesis, which also has your materials. Then you'll get a procedure slide, and you can have photos for the experiment as well. And then you'll get 3 slides to discuss your results, including space for graphs, statistical tests, pictures, and the summary of your findings. Then the next slide is the conclusion and discussion slide, and it's the interpretation of your results. And then lastly, you'll have your references slides. So there is an example screening slide presentation on the website, and you can access it at this link, or here it is also. So as you can see, it starts off with the title page, and then you have your abstract, background, and so on. And so this is the templates that you're trying to look for, but obviously your format and layout should be different per slide. And you can see it ends up to being around 11 to 12 slides. So then after you complete and submit your slides, you may be approved to apply to the fair, which is also through the portal. But applying to the fair asks for a fair payment, which is $25 this year. You may also not be approved because you simply do not demonstrate a concept, or you didn't test the hypothesis, or you had too many inadequacies, or you violate some of the GSDSEF rules. So in that case, you may be rejected, or you may need to resubmit with some modifications based on comments from your reviewer. You need to go to the portal and redo your PowerPoint based on their comments, and then resubmit your project as soon as possible. So the resubmission deadlines this year is by February 23rd.
So you might be a little bit scared about screening if you're not fully done with your project yet. There's usually some decent leeway with this. So the goal of screening is not really to be a huge gatekeeper to the science fair, but rather to make sure that everyone who attends the science fair has earned their place there and has really done some quality research. So as long as you're providing evidence that you set up your experiment, you started collecting data, right? Your plants are growing. Maybe they're all the way grown up yet, but you have plants, you have preliminary data, right? You've already started to form some data analyses, and you have like pictures and graphs and all that. So your project doesn't need to be fully done. Again, the screening process is more so just to make sure everyone is qualified. And usually you don't need to be too scared about, being rejected from the fair. It's almost always resubmit with modifications or accept, because, with the first round of SRC approval back in, I think December, they already went through and kind of checked your abstract, checked your idea, your proposed methods. So hopefully you have done all the required safety forms and certifications. Usually people would be rejected because, they used a bad chemical that they shouldn't have, and they didn't get approval, and they didn't do it safely. And that's something that would be rejected. You wouldn't be rejected for, you didn't finish building your prototype yet, right? So just don't be too scared about it. The science fair people want you to be able to participate in the fair. That's why they organize the science fair, right? So just don't be too stressed. Just make sure to carefully read the resubmission comments if you get them, and try to put your best foot forward from the get-go. by carefully reviewing the templates and making sure you've got everything, labeled axes, graphs with titles, right? Don't be lazy and skip those. Abstracts in the correct tone of voice or perspective. And showing as much preliminary data as you have is a good thing, just to reassure the reviewers that you've done a significant portion of your project. So the science fair is not going to be friendly to people who do their project on the last day before the science fair actually happens. So if you do that, you probably won't be accepted. Just a warning. Okay, so thank you so much for coming to our workshop today. And we look forward to seeing you next week at our next workshop. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. It's always the same Zoom link. So you can just continue joining the Zoom link at 9:30 a.m. next weekend. Thank you.